I actually thought that I would just not find anyone.
الطريقة احنا كنا بنعملها قبل كده ان بنعرف على الناس امي وابوها ويعرفوهم.
When I first saw smartphone apps, and particularly some of the Western dating apps, and I saw them and I thought, oh my God, why do Muslims not have an app like this?
في عندك زواج العادي التقليدي يعني، في عندك زواج مسيار وزواج التعددي.
You know, for me there's no such thing as a halal dating app. You know, it's not halal.
الاختيارات على المنصات والعدد الكبير هو يعطي نظرة إنه جيمين وإنه عندك choices، لكن أصلاً هو يخلق توتر كبير.
I was literally with the questions.
She was like,
where are you from? What do you do? The next one was like, do you live with your family?
I have met with several people, but all of those things, they never really, you know, added to something significant. So I had a bad experience with them.
حابة أسوي لكم ردة فعل ميكس هو راح يشوفني هيك، خليكم جاهزين؟
طبعا.
ميك اب تبعك.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Haneen Ahmed. I'm 23. I work in London as a junior buyer in fashion or retail, if you will. And I've lived in London for the last 2 years. I graduated from University of Edinburgh, did law there, and I've been working in fashion ever since.
Look at me start a video with an herbal tea.
Hey everyone, yes, this is what I look like when I'm editing. Cute.
This should be interesting.
When it comes to love and relationships, especially as a Muslim woman, I started thinking about it a lot more when I was starting to hit 21, 22, because in my culture at least, that is when we start talking about marriage and about taking relationships more seriously. So it was then when I started considering, okay, maybe I should, speak to my parents, maybe I should figure out what kind of a partner I want, what do I bring to the table as well, what kind of marriage I want in the future for myself. I've been a hijabi since I was 14. I've always had a very strong standpoint in terms of relationships being haram and not entertaining attention when it's not necessary. Even if someone gave me attention at 18, if he wasn't going to follow that up, there was no reason to entertain it. That is why I hadn't considered it before. And also I was very tunnel vision in that I wanted to finish my education, get a job. I didn't want to do anything too early.
After years or months of using apps, what a lot of people end up doing is they'll use an app for a few weeks, months, and then they'll get, fed up. And then they'll, stop using the apps, try other ways. Then they'll go back to using the apps again. The idea came to me, we were in lockdown and I was having a conversation with a friend and she was telling me how, now how am I going to meet somebody because we can't even go out and even, get to see people face to face. So the way I created this business was to take that concept of, having a marriage event, but actually taking it online and making it virtual. So obviously we were in lockdown, you couldn't go to events or you couldn't go to restaurants because they were closed. We weren't allowed to meet people. So what I decided to do was use video calling platforms to allow people to log on from the comfort of their own home, but it wasn't like an app. They were still able to see each other face to face. You could have interaction. So they would log on to the call. I would put them in breakout rooms. You know, you can have breakout rooms on video calling platforms, and you would have maybe 3 or 4 women talking to 3 or 4 guys, and after like maybe 10-15 minutes they would rotate round and they would get to speak to each other face to face, obviously the best way with it being virtual. And then if they were happy with each other, they could swap numbers, or I would even then put them into a one-to-one breakout room.
I was, in lockdown from university. So many people got married, and I was thinking, you haven't even graduated. I was starting to explore like which dating apps I should try. I saw Muzz on Instagram. They were advertising quite a bit, and so I thought, if they say they have a lot of success stories, their app, like the UI, looks very user-friendly as well. So I thought, if I'm going to give it a go, I will try it with this. And that's what introduced me to the app in the first place. I thought the first impression was that men cannot take good pictures of themselves. And then secondly, there are a lot of requirements that women have to jump through to be like the perfect person for some man. And I'm like, you haven't even met me yet, but you have all these criteria and bullet point lists of what you want, but you're on a dating app.
Icebreakers, looking at Android and iOS, I guess how do you think both were done? Like, to what standard, I guess, where are we at?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more work to do, but and Android a little bit ahead of iOS, but I think both in a place to potentially release next week. For me now, it's like, where do we take Icebreakers next? You know, what's the next evolution? How do we really build on the experience we're trying to achieve here?
Yeah. So actually, I want to talk about that. So in terms of looking at, as we call it, I'm going to call this Icebreaker version 2. Right now we have the icons around, and even like the mic icons, etc., for sending different types of content. And I'm thinking, all right, how do we fit in icebreakers into this view?
Would we allow members to send multiple icebreakers though? Because I feel like icebreakers you should only be able to send once because you're breaking the ice.
Do you know what could be nice? It might be thinking ahead, but like how we have like animations of confetti and stuff like that. If we actually have like an icebreaker thing, so if you answer it, like the ice shatters. And it just makes it a bit fun.
Legit, I like that. Put that on the roadmap, I'm not joking. That one's a cool one.
A lottie hammer.
Okay. I set the app up 8 years ago. I used to be a banker in a former life. I quit a lot of that, had the brainwave for this, and I launched it and built it in about 6 months. And now we've got a team around the world of about 60 odd people. The app is huge, we're the biggest in the world. We've got over 6 million members now. Well over, I think it's actually 250,000 people around the world who've actually found their partner on Muzz and got married, which blows our mind. So we've definitely had a huge impact around the world.
Before, when parents used to introduce you to somebody, you only had a handful of people to choose from, and you would probably go for the one that you kind of got along with the best. Now there are so many people to choose from. When you go online or when you go on an app, as opposed to 4 or 5 people or who were suitors or potentials, now you have hundreds, thousands of people that you're going to swipe left or right with. So these are also challenges. It's almost like there's too much choice now, so people don't know who could potentially be the right person for them.
في حالات المنصات توفر عدد كبير من الاختيارات للباحثين. اكتشفت يعني نفسيا انه هذا كثير سلبي. الاختيارات على المنصات والعدد الكبير هو اصلا يحس انه هو يعطي نظرة انه جيمين وانه عندك تشويسز، لكن اصلا هو يخلق توتر كبير ويخلق عدم الثقة في القرار، وهذا يأثر على القرار نفسه.
I actually think there was a bit of a brainwave moment when I first saw smartphone apps, and particularly some of the Western dating apps, and I saw them and I thought, oh my God, why do Muslims not have an app like this? Yeah, so I still remember the very first story and the first wedding story, and it's kind of interesting because when I quit my job and I, set up Muzz from the bedroom of my home, and I remember I was kind of at this tipping point where I thought, have I made a mistake? And should I go back to a normal job? Where the app was growing, but it wasn't growing, like crazy. And I remember then at that point, somebody emailed in with their success story. They said, you know what, thank you so much, thanks to Muzz. I actually found my wife on your app. And they were just over the moon about the whole story. And that was, for me, I think something clicked in my head that, you know what, this is real. Like people, they get married and this is having a real effect on people.
I downloaded Muzz and I thought, how can I, put my personality into a profile? I think that's something a lot of people would struggle with, because when you meet someone, it's different, but on an app, you have to kind of put everything in very few words.
Student, Indian, United Kingdom. My bio is final year student. No, I will not defend you. I'm 5'2", speak languages. I like hip hop, film photography, and baking. Also love running and playing badminton.
And then as a last prompt, I said I don't want to die on the 13th to receive flowers on the 14th, which because it was half in jest, so that's why I thought putting a joke in there might be nice.
For some reason, don't know why, don't ask me, I've been getting a lot of couples TikToks on my For You page. And it's almost like TikTok is like, ha, look at you, you're alone.
I think initially when I started thinking about relationships and marriage, it's very natural to want someone who will respect you, someone who appreciates you for all your characteristics, for everything, for your individuality. And that is exactly what I wanted as well, is for someone to respect me, to love me and appreciate the fact that I am independent, but also I'm not going to rely on someone. I want someone to be as a companion, but not to depend on them.
I'm just gonna focus on the people who have already liked my profile. There's an age, he's 21. Wow, a bit young to get married. Looking for someone to grow old with. How about you grow up first? Interests, sports, dean, traveling, food. In that order? Swipe right if interested, and let's get down to business. Man knows what he wants. We respect that. Must be British, Sunni, Pakistani. Height-wise, 5'3" and above. Buddy, you want someone who's Pakistani and over 5'3". I am Indian and 5'2". On a good day.
Obviously for us, we're catering to the Muslim market. So there's certain religious requirements of what's expected when it comes to finding a partner. So, within the app, we were the very first app ever to include a chaperone or a wali in the app itself. So anyone who's using it, particularly for women, they can include a family member, a brother, their father, etc. into their whole process.
لما يكون الأهل involved أو الأصدقاء involved، أشخاص تانيين for support, emotional support، يخلي المسألة جدية أكثر. يخلي المسألة في ثقة، في نظرة إيجابية للموضوع، مش إنه نظرة مثالية بس.
Yes, obviously, you can get, chaperones or parents who are involved in the whole service, but there's no difference. A lot of these apps are very, very similar to the non-Muslim dating apps.
I guess one huge difference in how we designed the app was around privacy, particularly again for women. So you can join the app, you don't have to use your real name, you're in full control of your photos, so you can control who actually sees you, which doesn't exist on mainstream apps.
The same features, you still swipe left and right for a lot of them, you will still have instant chat with a lot of them, you will still, be filtering on certain things, just like you would on a non-Muslim dating app. So if you can have certain barriers, I know some of the apps would say that the females could hide their faces originally. However, there is a downfall to that, because then I've heard also that if guys pay for the premium services, it automatically shows them the picture, so it kind of takes that away.
One thing that we've heard from a lot of young people, particularly using Muzz, is that they find that just through the process of talking to people, whether it works out or it doesn't, they actually learn a lot about themselves. They learnt about truly what am I looking for, you know, what's important to me. Whereas before, I think often a lot of people have an impression of what they're looking for, but the reality is so different. You know, building a product, you know, our mission is transforming how Muslims meet and marry, and I want to make sure that I build something that fulfills that in a way that's very respectful of the faith and, you know, brings something positive to the world. So safety, expectation of behavior is super important. How have we done that? Throughout the app. So we were one of the first apps, full stop, to have selfie verification. So when you sign up, we lock onto your front camera, we take a selfie, etc. People get together and sometimes it doesn't work out, you know. I think one thing, and we've definitely had people come to us saying that that has happened. One thing that's actually really good and one thing I'm genuinely proud of is, and we spoke to quite a few couples where that has happened, but they were still glad they went through this process because it was, like I said, on their terms. You know, they kind of went into it with their eyes open. I think we're definitely way more proud, and obviously we celebrate the stories that have worked out, which are, you know, probably 100 to 1 in terms of successful stories and people having babies and starting families and all that kind of good stuff. We definitely don't like to just say the word dating on its own, because I agree, I think in my eyes it brings around the wrong connotations of what we're definitely not about. So I think that's important to say.
بالنسبة للحلال دايتين أو المواعدة الحلال، هي المنصات هذه تعطي إحساس بأنه هذا مسموح، لأنه معظم أو أغلب المنصات للحلال دايتين أو غير الحلال هي نفسها، ما فيش فرق، لكن هم يحطون هالجمل أو هالمفردات حتى يخلوا إحساس بالأمان، إنه الإشي اللي راح أعمله أنا مش خطأ، وهذا اللي يخلي ساعات الأشياء الغير مقبولة أو من المجتمع أو من الأفراد تصير normalized، تصير يعني وكأنه أشياء عادية.
So we often use, you know, Muslim marriage and sometimes the word halal dating as well, and sometimes people ask, well, what do you mean by halal dating? No doubt dating in the Western mainstream context is you know, the whole getting to know someone with relations before marriage, whereas for us, when we say halal dating, that's not at all what we mean. You know, we're talking about getting to know someone within the confines of Islam, but in a way that allows you to get to know someone.
You know, for me, there's no such thing as a halal dating app. You know, it's not halal. There's no difference between a Muslim dating app and another dating app. You know, you're going to still get people who are fraudulent on there. You're going to still have people who are there because they want to have affairs or whatever it is, or there are wrong intentions. It's kind of like, you know, trying to mix something that's Western, which is dating and online apps, with obviously traditional Muslim values. There's men and women, you know, just talking on these platforms, inappropriate conversations that are happening, people that aren't really serious, who are just there because for the wrong reasons. So yes, it is great because it allows people to interact and who are really seriously looking to find someone. But equally, I do think that these platforms do have their downfalls.
I think the key is you're getting to know someone and it's within a framework that's safe, that's public, that's open. Like I said, with a chaperone or a wali. Done the right way, for us, the word halal dating encapsulates, especially what young people colloquially term the purpose of getting to know someone.
So I'm Sana.
I'm Hakeem.
I'm 28 at the moment. He's still 27. And we met 4 years ago on Muzz Match. I was looking for about 2 years before I met Hakeem, and I was very open about the ways I was going about trying to find a husband. Like, I made it very known that I was looking. I'd done like marriage events, I went to mosques, I asked imams, I asked rishta aunties, and I literally was on Pure Matrimony and all the other sort of sites as well.
Technically, I wasn't looking. One of my friends put me on it, and within 2 weeks I found somebody and I was done.
So I was on Muzz for maybe a year, like definitely a few months before I started talking to him.
And I'm thinking like 2 weeks, I'm not 100% sure though.
One of his pictures that he chose for his profile was in Egypt, and I studied Egyptology. So that caught my interest, and I think when he sort of explained that he was mixed race as well, I thought that was interesting.
Sana's profile, it was a bit different. I don't remember what was written on her profile, but she had quite a lot of pictures and they were very different. I remember her holding a flag in university because she was debating something or something. I don't remember what, but I don't know. She just looked different and interesting.
I think after I had an initial conversation with Hakeem, I asked him sort of basic questions about himself, you know, where he lives, what his family's like, what he's looking for. I think once I was happy with that, I just wanted to push for a meeting straight away. My family is quite sort of relaxed, so when I first met Hakeem, I kind of went by myself to meet him at the train station. We hung out a little bit, we went and had food, and then afterwards I took him to my mum.
So we met the 21st of February. I didn't want to meet her the 14th because the 14th is Valentine's Day. I don't like Valentine's Day. So the 21st of February is when I met her. And now I don't do Valentine's Day. I do the 21st of February because that means something to me.
I think with us, I was trying to involve my family a lot more.
She was so difficult. I had to go through everybody. It's like I had to have a wrestling match with all of them to beat them up and win.
Yeah, so he did have to come down quite a few times to
and
meet
it's
everyone.
Swindon. What's there to do in Swindon apart from the shopping outlet?
And then we got engaged in April and then had our nikah in May. So
Yeah.
it was less than 6 months.
Sana always says that we did have an arranged marriage. The only difference is we arranged it ourselves. So our parents didn't.
Yeah.
Sana doesn't like saying that we met and we were never dating, you know. We arranged our own marriage between ourselves.
So Tinder I have not, because when I was in university, it had a reputation for being a very casual app, and with being Muslim, that doesn't quite go hand in hand with relationships. That is why I didn't try Tinder. I have tried Hinge because you can filter it to religion.
I actually thought that I would just not find anyone. Like, I thought that I'd grow old with my best friends and we'd get a big house together. I think because I have really good relationships with my family and I've got really good friends, and I was really content. I was really happy, just like that. So I was happy for that to be the way that it is until the day I passed. So when I did go on the dating apps, that was, I think, nearly 10 years ago, so they were really new at the time. So people were talking about it and saying their different experiences, so I was naturally curious about them. But the thing that made me decide to finally go on one was because I met a boy that I started to like really quickly, and I think that scared me a little bit because I think I was 18, maybe 19 at the time, and I didn't want to settle down and find someone that quickly. On my profile, I think I just put 3 hobbies that I liked, or the hobbies that I thought I'd like to do with someone else. I didn't put a lot on my bio because I think it's better if those things come out in conversation rather than for them to know everything about you, because then what's the point in them? For me, a lot of the men I was matching with on the app, it became really obvious that they had a thing for Asian girls, especially East Asian girls. And then it starts to feel a little bit creepy and you start to feel a bit like you're an object. The thing that made me stop going on the apps was because I think it just got really boring. I think it was the same conversations I was having, but just with new people. And when my phone ran out of space, I was like, I don't need this, so I deleted it. I didn't meet my partner through an app. My partner that I'm with, I met through just real life. We were friends first, and then eventually we started to like each other, and we've been together now ever since. I think where my opinion on dating app has changed from before using them to after. I don't know if it's the greatest for finding like your forever person, but I think it's great for when you want to know more about yourself and what you like and what you don't like, and to experience people who aren't the same as the one in your mutual circles. People with different interests, people with different backgrounds. I think it's great for things like that.
At this point, if someone asks me out, it might progress further on, and that might be the person for me. So I immediately think, like, why are you asking me out? What is your long-term plan? And what made you want to take me out for coffee, for instance? Like, what about me is attractive to you?
I'd heard obviously a lot of horror stories about dating apps, where I've even had friends tell me that they've been speaking to somebody for several weeks, a few months, and then found out he was married. I've had friends telling me, even guys telling me, that they've been talking to girls, and you know, they found out that they're actually talking to lots of different guys at the same time, and they're just wasting their time.
وأنا اتولدت هنا في 86. احنا كنا واحدة من 6 و10 عائلة مصرية في برمنغهام بالذات. فالطريقة احنا كنا بنعملها قبل كده ان بنعرف على الناس امي وابوي بيعرفوهم، بناتهم يعني. الصراحة I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't know who these people were. My parents wanted someone they thought would be right for me, but they were scared of, obviously, they're first generation immigrants here. هم متعودين على مصر والسودان وحاجات زي كده، they're not ready to understand the differences هنا. أنا سمحت الأب أنا استخدمتها من أصحابي ممكن 4 سنين أو 5 سنين. بعد كده قلت لنفسي يلا تجرب وخلاص يعني. شو يعني إيه اللي يحصل؟ I don't know، يعني ما أعرفش بالطريق الدين لو كانت حلال أو حرام، بس أنا دخلت بالنية أنا عاوز ألاقي يعني واحدة لحياتي، أنا أكمل ديني وأكمل نص ديني. استخدمت الأب الأول وبعد الشهر I deleted the app عشان زهقت منها خالص يعني. عشان the app I was using it had blurred photos، يعني الصورة مش باينة جدا، مش يعني بالنسبة لي لازم أشوف الواحدة اللي أنا عاوز أتجوزها. I reinstalled the app بعد 6 شهور وجربت تاني، وكنت بقابل يعني ناس على الاب، بس مفيش يعني I felt like the other person was maybe speaking to 6 or 7 people, and then she'd probably meet me for a coffee and then meet someone else for a dinner and then someone else for dessert. فأنا حسيت إن it's not sustainable. So then I deleted it again. And then I reinstalled it maybe a year later. And then I used other apps which aren't Muslim marriage apps. and that worked better for a little bit. And then I came back to the app I was using. I felt the profiles were a little bit fake. And حتى the pictures were altered Photoshop مش عارف ايه, and I'm like, what's the point? أنا كنت عايز واحدة just relaxed, independent طبعا, someone who understands her deen. But the one thing I realized what improved for me to find a good match is when I said exactly what I wanted. كنت عايز واحدة مسلمة طبعا. كنت عايز واحدة من بلاد العرب, واحدة شامية ومصرية حاجة زي كده. لقيت واحدة على الاب, وانا كنت مستغرب ان اصلا البروفايل بتاعها كانت ديتيل جدا. هي كانت عندها الليستة هي عايزة ايه, هي مين اصلا, ايه الحاجات المهمة لها. هي عملت لايك على البروفايل بتاعي, فانا عملت لايك باك. هي بعت لي هاي سلام, هاي سلاش سلام. وانا رديت يعني سلام سلاش هاي. وبعد كده we didn't talk for 2 weeks. وانا لما رجعت في البلد يعني هي بعت لي رسالة تاني, sorry كنت شغال مش عارف ايه, كنت بتبيع بيتها حاجة زي كده. اوكي انا قلت اوكي no problem. فهي قالت لي انت مكتوب في البروفايل بتاعك انت عارف jokes كتير, فقلت لها اوكي. the joke is, why are mushrooms invited to the party? And she says why, and I says because they're a fun guy. It's an awful joke, but she loved it, so it's great. So وبعد كده يعني we were just talking a little bit on the app over 48 hours. And then she said, do you want to talk on the phone? I was like, yeah, let's talk. And وبعد الأول مكالمة she said, do you want to meet up? And I was like, yes. فقابلنا بعض بعد أسبوعين. قابلنا برا, كنا بنمشي كده يعني ساعة ونص. كان very quick, surprising, عشان من أولها احنا كنا عايزين نستنى سنة نعمل كتب كتاب, نستنى سنة نعمل فرح, بعد كده نكمل حياتنا. بس عملنا كلها في 3 شهور الحمد لله. It's crazy. الحمد لله. It's okay. الحمد لله يعني اتجوزت من سنة, بس دلوقتي احنا مستنين البيبي بتاعنا ان شاء الله في شهر 11 ان شاء الله. ان شاء الله يعني عيال تاني اكتر ان شاء الله باذن الله.
I think being Muslim makes finding a partner challenging, because when you think of the fact that in Islam, marriage and like finding a partner, marrying someone is equivalent to completing half your deen. When you think about it like that, that is such a big thing that you have to think it has to be the right person. It has to be someone who you can complete half your deen with. It has to be someone who understands you, who can be a companion to you. Somebody who can be a friend and a companion, but also your partner and holds you accountable. There's so much to it when you're thinking as a Muslim, because you're thinking of marriage as the long game instead of, okay, we will date, we'll see if we become boyfriend, girlfriend, we'll see if we become engaged. That's not, from the start, you have to think of the long-term vision.
الخطابة هي تطبيق زواج مخصص للمسلمين. نحن اليوم عندنا فوق ال 5 مليون مستخدم، ورصدنا لهلا فوق ال 200,000 حالة زواج. عندنا 600,000 اكتيف يوزر اليوم، وعندنا فوق ال 5 مليون مستخدم ان جنرال على التطبيق. هن في عندك زواج العادي التقليدي يعني الشرعي، وبيقولوا له الزواج الشرعي. في عندك زواج المسيار وزواج التعددي، ونحن الوحيدين اللي بنعطي هول الخيارات وبنسال هذا السؤال باسئله التوافق. وهيدي اجت على خبره، لانه بينت معنا انه في كابل بلشوا يتعرفوا على التطبيق، وبعدين يبين معهم انه عم ينبشوا على نوع زواج مختلف. نحن هون بنعتبر حالنا فشلنا بمهمتنا انه نعرفوا على شخص يقدر يتجوزه وبوقت سريع.
اليوم ومع التقدم التكنولوجي فإن تطبيق الخطابة للزواج الذي يتناسب مع تقاليدنا الإسلامية يساهم في مساعدة المسلمين على إيجاد شريك حياتهم بطريقة عصرية وآمنة وحلال.
المنصات التواصل هذه هي توفر نوع من الأمان، نوع من الأمان في الكوميونيكيشن، في التواصل مع الآخرين. لكن ساعات أهم شيء هو كيف كل شخص يوفر الأمان لنفسه، لأنه ممكن ننجرف مع الإحساس بالأمان اللي موفرته المنصة، أنه نروح لأبعد حد، أنه نصير ما نحط حدود للأمان مالتنا. كل شخص من المفروض يكون مسؤول على حماية الخصوصية مالته.
ليك هو مزبوط انه في جدل دائما على شو الحلال وشو الحرام، وخاصه بس كنا عم نحكي عن تعارف اونلاين. نحن شخصيا ما بنحس حالنا معنيين بهذا السؤال، لانه بالنهايه نحن تطبيق الخطابه اخذنا مفهوم موجود تقليدي صار له مئات من السنين، مقبول من المجتمع العربي، وبس زدنا له الطابع التكنولوجي لنعمله فعال اكثر وبكلفه اقل وسهولة الوصول له. يعني بالنهاية بيكون بالتليفون تبع كل شخص بجيبته. نحن هدفنا على تطبيق الخطابة انه نجرب نعرف العالم على الشخص المناسب ليقدروا يبنوا حياة زوجية ناجحة. وآراء الأهل ورأيهم كثير مهم لنا، وهذا لاحظناه نحن ذكري من الأول. مثلا رح أعطيك مثل، في كثير كوبلات تعرفوا بأول مشوارنا على تطبيق الخطابة وعلى أساس ناويين يتجوزوا، بس حدا من الأهل رفض. فنحن درسنا هيدي الداتا وجربنا نفهم ليش الأهل رفضوا هذا الشيء. بين معنا انه في نسبه عاليه منهم هود الكوبلات اللي انعملوا على تطبيق الخطابه، الكابلز اللي انعملوا على تطبيق الخطابه، يكون في فرق كبير مثلا بمستوى التعليمي بيناتهم. فدخلنا مستوى التعليمي باسئله التقارب اللي بنسالها بالاول، بس واحد يعمل الحساب تبعه على التطبيق، وعطيناه تقل كبير بالالجوريثم لنكون اكيدين انه نحن مش بس عم نعرفك على شخص معقول انت تتفق معه، بس كمان اهلك يوافقوا عليه. نحن اليوم موجودين بالسعوديه اولا، بعدين ببلدان الخليج الباقيه مثلا قطر، الكويت، بحرين، الامارات، وموجودين كمان بمصر. نحن تطبيق الخطابه كل ما نفوت على سوق جديد بنظبطه على قياس التقاليد والاهتمامات تبع العالم بهذا البلد. بأسئلة التقارب اللي بنسألها بالأول بس حدا ينشئ حسابه على التطبيق مختلفة. مثلا إذا كنت أنت عم تستعمل التطبيق من السعودية أما من مصر. مثلا بالسعودية بنسأل أسئلة مثل من أي قبيلة هذا الشخص، نسأل أسئلة كمان من لون البشرة، لأنه انتبهنا حسب قالوا لنا إياهم المستخدمين إنه هودي قصص مهمة بس يكونوا عم بينبشوا على شريك الحياة. بمصر نسأل مثلا سؤال عن قائمة المنقولات قبل الزواج، كمان هذا سؤال مهم للمصاروي قبل ما يقرروا ولا يلاقوا شريك الحياة. قبل الخطابة بعتقد كان دور الأهل أكبر، كان الأهل هن ينقوا والابن ولا البنت هن يوافقوا أما يرفضوا. اليوم مع دخول الخطابة على سوق الزواج بالعالم العربي صارت الأعزب هو اللي عم بينقي، هو اللي عم بيتعرف، وبعدين الأهل هن اللي عم بيقبلوا ولا يرفضوا. وبرأيي هذا بيعزز الفرص إنه يبنوا علاقة زوجية ناجحة، لأنه بالنهاية عم نعطي دور أكبر للأعزب اللي هو حيعيش الحياة الزوجية.
كثير دراسات بالنسبة للمرأة المسلمة اللي أو النساء البنات المسلمات اللي يروحوا على المنصات اللي جايين من عائلات كثير تقليدية، إنه الانتماء لهالمنصات يعطيهم إحساس بالقوة، يعطيهم إحساس بالمساواة مع الرجل. أنا مش الرجل اللي يختارني، مش أنا أبقى، لأنه هي التقليدية البنت تنتظر الرجال لحد ما يجي يخطبها أو عائلة تيجي تخطبها. وهي بعدين تقرر إذا إيه أو لا، لكن ما عندهاش التشويس إنه هي تروح تختار الرجال اللي هي حابته.
Alright, I'm gonna message the dude who put in his interest sports dendine. So I said, and you cook and clean. How are you not already being arranged by an auntie? He says, I guess I'm not mega rich, so not a first choice for aunties. Yikes, that got very real. That got very real very quick.
It's this dude who studies chemical engineering, and I started the conversation with like, oh, chemical engineering sounds cool. And this is what transpired next.
Alright, so he's replied, I just watched 2 of your YouTube videos, lol. Very funny. You seem fun, not gonna lie. Okay. Like you have a personality. Can you teach me Arabic? It's like saying you're funny for a girl. You know, that's not a compliment. Sorry, what do you bring to the table, buddy? Exactly. Just nothing.
كانت في حالات إيجابية لكن كانوا محتاجين يشتغلوا على نفسهم. اختيار الشريك كان مناسب، لكن بعديها صارت هل المجتمع والعائلة يقبلون هذا الاختيار؟ وصار نوع من البريشر، ضغوطات عائلية لرفض لهذا الاختيار. هذا سبب نوع من الريجكشن، يعني البنت كانت تحس نفسها انه هي غير مقبولة، وانه الشاب ما كانش موفر حماية كافية ليها. هذا عمل توتر في الزواج مالتهم وعدم إحساس بعدم الأمان. هم ساعات حسوا إنه التجربة اللي جربوها أونلاين مش كافية، هو تحدي أونلاين وصار تحدي أوفلاين.
I first heard about dating apps back in 2012-11. That's when I was first introduced to them. Obviously back then we were kids, so we didn't really use them that much. But around about 2017 time, that's when I started to use them properly. But since then, all the way till 2022, I haven't really had good luck with them. I've spoken to many people, like numerous people, I can't even count how many. I have met with several people, but all of those things, they never really, added to something significant. So I had a bad experience with them. It took me a while to get a first match, but when I got it, I was a bit excited, and I just straight away told the person, like, you're the first match and this and that, but it didn't really last for that long. When I entered this world of dating apps, the first thing you see is like there's so many possibilities, like so many options to choose from, whereas with the traditional methods, you have a limited set of people, like, you're at school, you're at college, university, you're at work, you have a limited number of people you can interact with. But with these dating apps, apparently you have numerous profiles from all around the world. So the options are unlimited, but of course it has its downsides as well. Quite a few profiles that I've met, they would have different pictures or exaggerated pictures in the profile, and the things that they've written about them is completely different to when you meet them. But not all the times. Pretty much the last one that I had through this dating app, I started speaking to her back in March. So in March we started talking, we clicked right away, we had the same level of humor and everything. It went pretty well. Then we started meeting each other. We kept it clean, of course, because I personally was intending to take it, long term and properly. But I could sense that the other person was more into the physical aspects rather, the relationship aspect. I have spoken to numerous people, and you either fall for scams, like people would, start talking to you, they would kind of try to lure you into talking to them, and they would maybe end up asking you for money and, these kind of things, like, make stories up. Once you get kind of emotionally involved, they kind of use that to lure money out of you, or, these kind of things. So I've used several dating apps, Tinder being the first one, which is not exactly a Muslim dating app. After that, I started using Muzz in parallel, which is now known as Muzz. Other than that, Hinge was one of the apps that I used a lot, because it has the option of just showing you people based on religion. The difference between Islamic dating apps and Western dating apps is not too much now. I mean, I've been using them for quite a few years now. They mostly have similar features. There is a difference, however, in Muzz. You have the option of blurring out your photos and keeping your profile private, but which kind of defeats the purpose, because whenever I stumble upon a profile which have their photos blurred out, I don't really know if I should match with that person or not. But yeah, again, they're trying to keep their identities hidden, but again, you're on a dating app, so you need to show yourself as well. So that's the only difference I've seen so far.
All right, so the finance professional, I said, it sounds vague. What exactly do you do? And he said, I'm going to send a voice note, XO. I don't know if we're ready for that, buddy. That's like jumping the ship far too soon. Matched with an accountant. He has nice hair, so I'm gonna say that. Start with a compliment. Damn, accountancy grad. That's impressive. He says, keeping with the vibe, I must say, impressed. You have really, really cool dress sense. That is the way to my heart to compliment my dressing sense. So, you're right, my hair is cool. It's almost like and then for the B, I'll say it's almost like the way to my heart. Oh, I feel really bad because I have to break it to him that I'm doing this for a video.
So my initial intention with making the video was, because it was a running joke in my friend group that because I hadn't dated, that it would be funny for me to suddenly be introduced to so many people all at once in one place. And for my friends, it was like, okay, Haneen should go on Tinder, but I thought, okay, no, Tinder is too much. We'll try something more in line with, something more Muslim, Islamic oriented. So I thought, mixing the fact that I'm Muslim with Valentine's Day and relationships, I thought my initial reaction would be funny to document and to publish online. And that is what I did. And that was when I was 21. So the intention of that video was to be funny and to, give my honest review of an app as a 21-year-old who has just started, thinking and entertaining the idea of relationships and dating.
كيف تعرفتوا على بعض انتي وميكس؟
ضحى عايز الاسامي يا ضحى. انت من وين؟
من تونس.
حياك الله.
انت من وين؟
انا من الاردن واسمي ميكس وعمري 22 سنه ومرشح ومفلوس.
ما تقول لي
مرتبط؟ لا مش مرتبط.
ربي حقق لي امنيه من امنياتي.
من غير ما نكذب عليكم، لما نزلت فقرة الأسئلة على الانستغرام 90% على ميكس. متى راح تتزوجوا؟ راح تخطبوا؟ متى راح ينزل ميكس على الأردن؟ متى راح يجي ميكس على تونس؟ متى وكيف وامتى وليش؟ ما اقدر اصرح، لكن قريبا، شهر اقل.
وين العروس؟ وين احليكي؟ ميكو تبعي وين؟ حابة
اسوي لكم ردة فعل ميكس وهو راح يشوفني هيك، خليكم جاهزين، متوتر شوية، في شوية توتر.
ما شاء الله تبارك الرحمن.
السنوات الجاية، ال10 سنوات الجاية أو ال15 سنة الجاية، يكونوا ممكن الأشخاص اللي تزوجوا عبر المنصات التواصل، وهذا يسمح لهم إنه يتقبلوا الفكرة أكثر وأكثر. ممكن أولادهم راح يشجعوهم على إنه يدخلوا في تجربة الزواج عن هذه الطريقة.
As for how I might find my future partner, I would like for it to be outside of an app, inshallah, but at the same time, I'm also aware that if that is how it's meant to be, then that is how. I'm not actively going on an app for a while. I'm done with apps. But if I meet someone online and that is how it's meant to be, then that is how it's meant to be. I'm not going to download an app though. I feel like that chapter is closed.